Hi, my name is Maceo Lewis, and welcome to my movie review channel. Today I'm going to talk about Megalopolis. Um, so Francis Ford Coppola made this movie, and this is the same director that made The Godfather, Part 1 and 2, Apocalypse Now. One of the greatest movies of all time. Like, if you made a top 10 list, I'd had no argument if you put all three of those movies in there. This movie, the ironic thing is, this movie could be in the top 10 list of the worst movies of all time. And it could be at the top of the list. And I say could because I, consciously, disregard, try to forget bad movies that I've seen. And so, like, I can't honestly create a top 10 list of all time without actually sitting down and thinking about all the bad movies I've seen. But if this is on the list of the top 10 worst movies of all time, I have no argument. It's easily the worst movie of the year. I can tell you that. Before I had Madam Web on my list, the top of my list as the worst movie of the year, this movie makes Madam Web look like The Godfather. At least with Madam Web, there's stuff in there that I can laugh at and laugh with. I just didn't take that movie too seriously. This movie was just an atrocious mess. There's really no reason to see this film unless you want to create a top 10 list of the worst movies and you want to actually see the movies before you put them in there. That would be the only reason to watch it. But there's absolutely nothing. Let me start with some positives about this movie. Okay. Now, Francis Ford Coppola, he did take a risk. We as film critics and moviegoers and fans, we're always criticizing movies for not taking risks, for being too safe, for sequels just coming after sequel. So we do that, and he also bet on himself. He literally took about $120 million of his own money. No one believed in him, and he said, "Okay, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is." Okay, kudos to that. He did break a record, and he is getting reactions out of people. But the record he broke was the biggest flop of the year. Before that, it was Borderlands. Borderlands took in about $8.6 million, and it cost about 115 to make. This movie, the first week, only took in $4 million, and he spent, at what's been reported, like $120 million. So, the point is, he took in less and spent in more than what was the previous flop of the year. The reactions he's getting out of people is negative, and count me as one of them. It was just horrendous to watch this movie. This movie shouldn't be called Megalopolis. It should be called Mega Sloppy Shit, because that's what it was. Let me get deeper into the negatives. So first of all, this movie starts off with a quote about Rome and the Roman Empire. I don't have the exact quote in memory, but basically he was trying to create this idea that this new Rome was like the old Rome, and he's trying to draw parallels between the fall of the old Roman Empire and this new Roman Empire. Frankly, I thought the analogy between the old Rome and new Rome was just too on the nose. You have the main character called Caesar, his opponent Cicero. There's a Crassus in there. He's basically taking names from the old Roman history and slapping them into this movie. It's like, come on, really? You expect me to believe that these, three figures from Roman history happen to have these names, and they're all of a sudden in this new? I don't know. I just thought it was just too on the nose. One of the main problems I had with this movie, though, was I just didn't know what was happening in each scene. Now, look, I've never made a movie before, but I can just tell as a fan that when I'm watching a movie, at least like subconsciously, what I sort of take for granted is that when I'm watching a scene, it sort of builds upon the next scene. So I'm watching a scene, something is happening, and it's also communicating to me, oh, therefore this next, like the previous scene leads to the next scene. So this happens, therefore this happens. This happens, therefore this happens, and so on and so forth. not only did I not get that from this movie, but literally I'm watching a scene and I'm like turning to my wife and I'm like, what the heck is going on? What is happening on screen right now? I mean, it was that bad. I thought that the actors, there had many talented A-list actors in this movie that were literally all of them were just wasted. I mean, you had Leigh Fishburne playing Caesar, Adam Driver's character's driver. I mean, come on. Shia LaBeouf, I mean, he's been great in the movies like I think it was a movie called Honey Boy. Like he's been great before. He's really like popping in and out of scenes like a whack-a-mole. Like, and I'm like, what is he doing in this scene? And he had this one scene where I think he was, I guess he did something with the deep fake video, and he was trying to get Caesar into some legal trouble, and he's like sitting in his room talking to himself, and he's like saying he's wearing a dress. I mean, and he's like, "Revenge is the best." Wearing a dress. I'm like, what is this crap? Like, what are you trying to? How is this? What does this have to do with the fall of this new empire? I had no idea what was going on. I mean, the dialogue was just horrendous. It was atrocious. It felt like this was like a cheap high school stage play. I mean, some of the scenes felt like it was literally on stage. I'm referring specifically to that scene after the beginning of the movie where he's like, we see his power to stop time or whatever, and then it felt like it was like a dark room. There was like a whole bunch of media there, and you had Adam Driver's character come in. You had John Voight in there, Giancarlo Esposito's Cicero character, and then it felt like they were, I guess, having some type of debate about the future versus now, immediacy versus the present. But it just felt like I was like, I have no idea what's happening there at all. It's almost like you're having a conversation with someone, and they're spitting out some ideas, and you can kind of make out the words that they're saying, but it's like, okay, but what is it? Like, I'm not feeling the flow of this conversation. That's how this movie felt. This is exactly what this movie was. It's a hodgepodge of ideas. It's like Francis Ford Coppola literally took a spaghetti bowl of ideas, threw them against the wall, and just expected us to sort through all this mess. The images, they had images of Adam Driver walking into the room, and like it's like gravity was like operating in reverse, and like some of the characters are driving down the street. You see images of like statues, like they're stationary at one point, then they're moving at the other. But I mean, it felt like he was trying to get a sense of awe out of me, but I mean, honestly, the only awe I felt was awful. I mean, this was bad. Again, we're talking about Rome, like the future versus the status quo, long-termism. So that's an idea, I guess. He's also trying to throw in a love story. So this is like one of the most supposed worst romantic stories I've ever seen. So basically, there was no romantic chemistry at all between, I believe her name is Emmanuel. She's the actress of Game of Thrones and the Fast movies. I think her name was Julia, and the character's name was Julia. So Julia, she starts off by not liking Caesar because her dad prosecuted him for murder of his Caesar's wife. And so basically she's like saying, look, I don't like you at the beginning of the movie. There's like an antagonistic relationship between the two. But even though she thinks this guy's a murderer, there's this one scene where she's at his house and he basically invites her into this secret room so he can show her this grand vision that he has for society. It's like, okay, so what can go wrong there? I think you're a murderer, but I'm going to go into the secret room with you so I can see like this vision you have for the future. Okay, what can go wrong there, right? So she sees his vision and she decides, okay, yeah, I see your vision, so I want to work for you. Okay, all right, so yeah, great, go work for a murderer. All right, okay, so in case the audience didn't get that, okay, like we both see this future that other people don't see. Like, okay, so I'm gonna have this scene where Adam Driver is gonna stop time when this building's collapsing. She's the only one that sees him stopping time while everybody else is all frozen. Like, okay, Right. So everybody else is stuck in time, and we're the only ones that can see the future. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay. Now this whole murderer thing. Okay, well I can put that aside now because I see Adam Driver's character looking at an image of his wife. I guess it was like an old recording that was supposed to be, and she comes to the conclusion. Oh wait a minute, he didn't murder her. He loves her. He just feels guilty because his work drove her to die. Oh, okay. Well, sign me up for that, right? Okay, I want to be a part of that. And and then there's the what I guess brought these people together was that this scene where he's at the top of the building, they're on these construction bees, and somehow he's lost his ability to stop time. And then she kind of goes up to the bees like, oh, 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 think of me when they do this. And then he gets his power to stop time back. And so then that's when they fall in love. I mean, come on, that was just the worst romantic. That's the romantic story right there. Really, I'm not making that up. Yeah, this was bad. None of this story, this movie, none of the scenes was telling me anything about the fall of this new empire. In fact, I really don't think that's what this movie is about. I mean, it's more about Francis Ford Coppola. He sees himself as this Caesar character that Driver's playing. And, you know, we the fans, we're supposed to be Cicero, right? We the fans, the critics that are reacting negatively to this movie. We're the Ciceros. You know, we're being contradictory, right? We keep asking for something new, something innovative in movies, and at the same time, we mock and ridicule for movies for taking risks. You know, you 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 know you spend money on these films and that you say are old and there are sequels, and you're spending all this money going to the movies to watch this stuff, and at the same time you're saying that this is just nothing new. This is something we've seen before. Can you give us something unique? I, Francis Ford Coppola, I have the power to stop time. You guys are stuck in immediacy and gratification in the present moment, and this is a work of art. This is progressing us to something better in filmmaking. I mean, this is just the most pretentious message I've ever seen in a movie. It reminds me of this so-called postmodern work 100 years ago called The Fountain. It was made by someone, I believe his name was Duchamp. Basically, he called this create this thing a fountain, but it was really like a toilet. And he put it out there, submitted it as an art piece, and it got reactions from people. And I guess it was his way of saying, hey, look, one person's trash is another person's treasure. And we've seen all this stuff in, like, I guess it's called postmodern exhibits, where somebody will throw out a lump of trash and, basically get a reaction out of people. And, and there are some people who call that art. I mean, I don't. I just call it what it is. It's a bunch of trash. It's a toilet. It's something you urinate in. It's something you poop in. And that's basically what this movie is. It's a glob of poop. And, I mean, that's what we should be calling it. This is appalling, dreadful. For me, it's the worst movie of the year. So there's really no reason to see this movie. Yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on Megalopolis.